evening. This is Nice Guy Eddie. You're listening to In My Humble Opinion on Rainbow Radio. Second show back after a 4-year absence, and I am pleased to be joined tonight by acclaimed Nazi puncher, Skarrlett Krow. Skarrlett, you were on the show a couple years back, actually. I don't know if you remember that, but it's good to be talking to you again.
Oh, yeah, it's been a while, and that was, I feel like I derailed the original topic just to sort of blurt out trauma.
We have rails? I didn't realize we don't do rails. We're good.
Sure,
we go wherever it goes. It's just a conversation. But so people are probably wondering, well, those who follow me, those who follow you know exactly what I'm talking about. But to those who don't, to those who might be hearing about it the first time, you actually had the opportunity and took the opportunity to actually do what most of us only blather about on Facebook, you know, us keyboard warriors.
Oh yeah.
Talk a good game about punching a Nazi, but you actually have a story here, and I wonder if you might take us back to this whole thing. And this became more relevant recently. We'll get into that.
Oh yeah, and I feel like, well, aside from making my own video about this, you know, with my own editing, post-production, so on and so forth, I feel like this would be a good way to just sort of put this whole issue to bed. In fact, you know what? I have the link to the actual video that was used as evidence, which is, you know, what got me arrested for this. So,
and that jumps right to the end where it's like, or jumps right to the middle where it's like, no, we're not just covering one thing or another thing. Oh no, we've got arrests, we've got court cases, we've got fallout. There's a whole situation going on here.
Oh yeah. Let's see. I'm just. So starting at about the, let's be generous and say the 23-second mark, give it a little bit of a buffer here.
So this is the actual video. Okay.
Let's knock it back a second, because this is all just whatever build up to it. And then you can hear me call out this person's name. This is Lilith Anton, aka Draken Sayer.
I was wondering, because you had posted, it has a surname that rhymes with Dragon Slayer or something like that. So
yes.
Slayer. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Yeah. And right here, you can see she is responding to me calling out her name because I recognized her on site.
The fact that he's putting America first and wants to focus on
he nods. He's like, "What's up, motherfucker?" And I just show up and bam, there we go.
All right. So now this was some sort of protest or rally or something for some.
This was
making America great and all that.
Yeah, this was August 4th, 2018, if I recall correctly. So anyway, but yeah. So, and I blabbed about it on Facebook.
Well, so what was the gathering all about? I mean, what were they all there for? What was the whole purpose?
I honestly don't remember. I just remember some of the more significant things that happened that day. Aside from that, well, I should say the things that are actually significant, whereas, you know, this is just my own little private sort of thing that, you know, just my circle knows. Whereas the more publicly known occurrence to happen that day was there were a bunch of Patriot Prayer members that showed up with guns and heavy artillery and were perched up on a bunch of rooftops, and they were having.
It was a good decision to start a fight in the middle of that.
Oh, I mean, I didn't know about that. It was one of those things where, you know, you find out later on in the news about the goings on of what happened that day. Initially, I had shown up with cooler, you know, I was in Black Bloc, and I totally ruined my optic security by blabbing about it online like a moron, you know, like a boastful idiot.
Between the two, punching a Nazi, bragging about it online, the second one was the bad decision. We can agree on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I've heard you describe this. I mean, again, a lot of people will look at that video and go, "You just walked up and cold cocked or unprovoked." And I've heard descriptions you've made from this individual. It sounds like she's a real peach. It sounds like she's a real piece of artwork there.
Oh yeah. No, I knew this person several years prior, and I had become friends with one of her partners. Exes, long from now, exes, and heard horror stories of abuse and some really shady behavior, some potentially illegal stuff that even crosses my moral threshold. and, crosses most people's moral threshold. And yeah. So anyway, knowing that history of that person, seeing them and seeing what side that they were on, I did what I did. Right. Called her out by name, made sure that it was her, just to make sure that, it wasn't just, some random, scene chick that, shared a similar style. And when she confirmed that it was her, that's when I took my shot.
Wow. And like, as you say, unfortunately, there was some, I wonder how many people could potentially do something like that and not, you got to tell somebody. That's always the way, right? It's like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
But they did figure it out. They did. And you were arrested. You were charged for that.
Yeah. I didn't think we had any mutuals on Facebook, but apparently we did. And somebody apparently had snitched over to her about the post that I had made saying, I made the domestic animal abuser / maggot Draken Sayer bleed.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a member of the LGBTQ community, is she not?
Oh yeah, she's trans.
And so you committed a hate crime.
I'm trans. And someone actually tried to point that out right after I punched her. They were like, "You just punched a trans woman," and I was like, "I am a trans woman, you dumb fuck."
So that's great because it's not a hate crime trans on trans. It's not if somebody like this, and we'll get to this journalist, this award-winning potential Pulitzer in the making journalist that wrote this up about a year after the fact. If they were to pull some misgendering shit, there's no like male on female, like you can't even claim that from a, as I say, like transphobic bigoted thing either. No, there's total equity here. Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I really don't get, I've never understood like the Milo types. The log cabin Republicans, the Milos, whatever. I mean, I do realize you can be.
It's some pick me shit. They want to differentiate themselves, from the broader public image of the LGBT community, or at least, whatever negative perception that they have of everything being shoved in their faces, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's some pick me shit. It's, I'm not like them. I'm better because I'm, yeah.
But it's just like, I mean, Trump, for example, just to pick, because I literally heard "Making America Great" as if that's a checkbox. Do you want America to be great? Yes, no, because it's that simple. Life is that simple, right? I mean, surely we don't want America to be great. I mean, it's so fucking idiotic. But Trump went after.
Do you want the roads to be made of hot, fiery coals that are kept flaming all the time and forced to walk barefoot? Or would you rather walk on regular pavement and wear shoes?
Yeah, I mean, it's absurd, but Trump went after the transgender community specifically from day one. One of the first things he did, transgender ban. And not that I'm guessing you're not looking to join the military anytime soon.
Oh, no. I was raised by cops and surrounded by military types. I did a short stint in a private boot camp and just, no, I'm good.
Not your thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to see legalized discrimination for all members either.
Oh, yeah, hell no.
Right. And yet it wasn't gays. It's like, nope, I'm going to go after. Tara and I were talking about this last week. And as she put it, and again, guys, for anyone who can't see the video here, huge air quotes, acceptable targets. Basically, It's like, oh, who's left that we can still? Oh, yeah, trans people. So they went boom right after that. I'll never understand how it's one thing to say differentiate yourself from the community, but you're literally standing up for somebody who targeted you personally and specifically. I will never understand that mentality.
I mean, usually, and there's always exceptions to it, but people like Milo and people like Lilith, Anton, Draken, Sayer, they themselves are not in the military and such, so it doesn't affect them personally, so they don't care. And that's sort of a common thing with liberals and conservatives and basically anything center, further right, etc.
Right. Yeah, sadly, and you're not wrong. I mean, I'll use the liberal label because it's handy, but you're not wrong to call it liberals in that regard either. I mean, let's be honest. So you were arrested. You were charged with, what was the original charge?
4th degree assault.
Okay. And you pled guilty for this.
Yes.
And was anybody surprised that somebody goes in and say, yeah, I totally did it and I do it again, bitch? I mean, like, Or was it not quite? Was it couched in a little more lawyerly?
It was no. See, the way that this kind of had this happen, there was something else that had precipitated the arrest, and it wasn't until I actually had been taken to the police station in downtown Portland and shown a still image screenshot that was printed from the video that I had shown. Right. And I was like, oh, it's for that.
so didn't you know, did they not tell you the right to remain silent?
Oh, no. See. Oh, fuck it. It's not like I'm going to get charges for it anyway, because, it's a done deal. So the night before I got arrested, I actually got into a fight at a concert. Some guy had shoved around my girlfriend in the pit, and I got huffy with them, and I was like, touch her again. And they stuck their tongue out at me and decided to taunt me. So I was like, okay, you want to play that game? We'll do that. And so I took their glasses off and I started going on them. And then we were kicked out. And, I didn't make a fuss about it because I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew exactly why I was getting kicked out.
The action or not, you're gonna get kicked out. You know that. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. I'm like, what am I like? What am I good? Am I gonna get in a fight with the bouncer and get myself banned from the place? Hell no. I like the venue. I just,
Plus, it's like Ron White said, I didn't know how many of them it was going to take to kick my ass, but I knew how many they were going to use.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you go in, all you know is you're getting charged with an assault, but you weren't actually sure which one. Oh my God.
Yeah. I knew that I was being arrested for assault, but I was initially under the impression that it was for the little bar fight that I had.
But I feel like a mosh pit is nothing but organized group assault. I mean, it's like, oh wow, a fight broke out in a mosh pit. I mean, that's like, what's next? We can start charging hockey players with. It's like, to
be fair, it was a birthday massacre concert, and their music can be pretty heavy. I mean, it's guitar related, but it's very, synthy and such like that too. So, I went over the line. The night before.
Right.
And that's what I thought I was being arrested for. But then when they showed me the screenshot, I was like, oh, it's for that. Okay, cool. So anyway, they showed me the screenshot. They were like, does this look familiar? I was like, oh, yeah. That's Draken Sayer. Yeah, I punched her. And, I was just direct. I was like, yeah. I called her name out to make sure that it was her. And I took my shot. I just confessed right there to the detective. Just didn't care because I was like, oh, I got, if it's for that and not for the other thing, then cool. Yeah. Well, I'll just handle this accordingly. And then, I was processed. I sat in the little sort of like processing center in the Portland City or Multnomah County Jail and, blah, blah, blah. Then the next day I got released on my own recognizance. Next day I had my arraignment. I wanted a public defender, despite the fact that I was going to be pleading guilty. And so the public defender put in an immediate plea of not guilty. And then a later court date was set. And so I was able to talk to the public defender and just be like, I know what I did. I confess to the detective. I'm not trying to waste anybody's time.
Right.
I just want to mitigate this as much as possible.
There's going to be a consequence, and you're just like, you know what? I mean, I did what I did. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Obviously, like death penalty. Hey, whoa, what the fuck? Wait a second, but yeah, I mean,
right. And basically, I guess the understanding was with me pleading guilty and just riding along with that, then they weren't going to pursue charges on the bar fight the night before. Or at least that's my suspicion, because they mentioned another incident, and I have a feeling it's probably in reference to the bar fight.
And the reason, one of the things that brought this back to not relevance, but I mean relevance at least to us on a personal level, was that there was an article on lawenforcementtoday.com posted by Pat Droney. Now, this is the other thing, is you were part of your plea deal and all that. You had to pay restitution because that was a hell of a punch. That left a dent.
Oh yeah,
that didn't leave a mark. That left a dent.
Yeah. There was an immediate, like It looked like a scratch, honestly, but whatever. And apparently Lilith Anton Draken Sayer was still recovering from some plastic surgery on her nose, which is where I binked her.
So not all of the damage. I mean, it was a good shot. Let's credit where it's due, but not all.
Yeah.
Directly caused solely by what there was some other stuff going on anatomically, shall we say?
Oh yeah. No. I'm trying to be, as honest and transparent about all the details as possible. And apparently I had done damage to that had to be repaired, and it was going to cost her around $10,000 to do so. So the judge had me as my restitution. The grand total sum that I was ordered to pay was reduced by $1,000, and with the total was $9,650.
Yeah.
And then later, Lilith Anton Draken Sayer decided to try to sue me in civil court, which that court date finally came and went in November of 2020.
Okay.
And that was just funny because I knew it was going to fall flat on its face to begin with, because basically I knew from the get-go that this was a spite move and that she was trying to go over one judge's head with another.
To be fair,
there's laws against that.
Oh, there are. Well, I was going to say there. I mean, because I was about to say, to be fair, that is her right. But was that not her right, or what?
I'm not exactly sure the name or the details of the law, but basically I knew that there was evidence that was presented during the restitution hearings, to find out the amount that was needed and so on and so forth. And all of that had already been taken into account for.
So there was no reason to sue you civilly in tort because
she tried using the same evidence that was used in the restitution stuff.
Double dipping that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. She was double dipping.
Right.
And I knew already that you can't do that. So I went in very confidently. And sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
Okay.
Before getting into the better details of that civil suit, I should precede this with continuing the court details regarding the actual charge.
Absolutely.
And so the court date came where I put in the guilty plea and was sentenced to 18 months of probation and ordered to pay restitution, which was to be determined in the later hearings, where it was,
the 9 and change.
It was, $9,650 was the grand total.
You will remember that number till the day you die, won't you?
Yep. And right now, I am currently at the point of owing $5,500 right now. So $5,500 is what I still currently owe.
And that's are we jumping the gun to talk about how you raise some of that money?
Jumping the gun still a little bit.
Okay, all right, continue that.
And when that court date came for me to enter my plea, Lilith Anton Draken Sayer made her statement to the judge and put on a very obvious crocodile tear sob story and was like, I think Trump's doing a wonderful job, blah, 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 blah. And, this was because, she doesn't agree with my politics and blah, 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 blah. And when I was offered the chance to make a statement, I just simply said, no. I pretty much decided to, keep it, just
right. Not grandstand about your politics. I love how they say it's about politics too, as if you punched her because of her feelings about deficit spending or deregulation or something that qualifies as politics. Folks, it's very simple. When your politics are rooted in somebody else's oppression, or when your comedy is rooted in mocking it, it's no longer a matter of politics. It's a matter of values, okay? Mm-hmm. You don't get to claim politics when we're talking about people's rights, okay?
Yeah. And this is one of the earlier followers of QAnon who has become a public face for it, whose picture has been, shared in the media on various cable news networks and such.
Well, not to jump the gun again, but this person was at the Capitol. Am I not wrong about that?
From my understanding, yeah. From what I've seen, they had entered the Capitol. So
let's have that name one more time for the FBI.
Lilith Anton Draken Sayer. Lilith Anton Sayer being the legal name, Draken DRAKKEN being her alias.
Thank you very much for that. So let's talk about this, because a lot of people right now, they're hearing a story about, I mean, let's call it what it was, a blatant assault. You walked up and cold cocked somebody, and there's me over here laughing. And I want to be very clear. I want to get on the record right now, and I want to talk about that, the GoFundMe.
Yeah.
And I want to say this. Yeah, I put in because I support punching Nazis. I'm right off the bat. You're a friend of mine, and absolutely, when you were ordered to pay this restitution, you had a GoFundMe to pay the restitution, and I put in.
Just to clarify, we should clarify in detail, this person has, gone on, there are screenshots of this person, saying that she thinks that Jews are responsible for all the world's atrocities, including stuff like sinking the Titanic, other inane,
she loves George
ahistorical
Soros.
Bullshit.
She loves George Soros, is what you're saying. Or is she not even? Is she more of the Jewish space lasers causing California wildfires?
She's one of the earlier QAnon supporters. But yeah, and they have posted, memes that have basically, like associated herself as a Nazi. Images of Hitler and so on and so forth.
One of these patriots that shows that they love America by waving the flags of countries that got their asses kicked by America.
Yeah. And it was in a way where it wasn't historical commentary. Let's just put it that way. She when she was posting that kind of stuff.
Oh my God. So this leads into this. Then now I will say this too, regarding QAnon. I didn't comment on this on my page for like the longest time. And some people and again, the first couple of shows I'm going to hit on this. I was off the air for about 4 years during the Trump administration because so much shit happened every fucking day that I'm just like overwhelmed. I was just like, what am I supposed to talk about today or this hour that would do it any justice and be at all relevant? And I just gave up. I couldn't even keep up with it all. So I had taken a few weeks off, and that turned into 4 years because it was like, I'm like, it's every day. It's new atrocities. So when it came to like QAnon, that was one where I just couldn't comment on it because I didn't like it. Whenever you get into like Gamergate or Pizzagate or any of these internet conspiracies, there's the part that the media reports, which is always like woefully inadequate, and then there's the bigger picture. Like if I were to talk about Gamergate, the problem is I know just enough about Gamergate to know that Anita Sarkeesian is very peripherally involved, and that it's a whole lot of fucking drama that I don't even want to fucking deal with. So when it came to QAnon, I realized I don't know enough about this. I don't really want to know enough about this. And I basically didn't comment on it the whole time. And I was seeing memes and all this shit coming up, but I'm like, you know what? This is another one of these fucking insane things. I don't even want to comment about it. So it was my journalistic integrity that stopped me from weighing in on QAnon early on because I didn't know anything about it. Now I think it's been laid bare. I think we're all pretty clear. Yeah, it's just a bunch of bullshit. People are talking about child trafficking, and I'm like, this just doesn't seem to have anything to do with child trafficking. But I guess I say all that because speaking of journalistic integrity, let's get back to Mr. Pat Droney's post on lawenforcement.com, which he felt it was relevant. This is amazing. I don't know what the opposite of journalism is, but whatever that is, that's what this guy was doing. So recently, and this was posted on January 19th, 2021. So this is only a couple weeks ago at this point. This guy was pissed off, apparently, that GoFundMe, which you did raise some money through GoFundMe. Okay.
Yeah.
So to be fair, let's put that out there. He was pissed off that GoFundMe was started after the Capitol riot, was basically saying, you know what, guys, we're not going to fund travel to political events anymore. We're not going to fund bail money for people. We're not going to fund criminal fines, etc. Like we're out. We're done. And this individual was really pissed off that apparently GoFundMe would no longer support travel to what he described as First Amendment rallies, which I love it because it's almost like these people are going to go to a rally and say, yay, Constitution, yay, free speech. Like there's no such thing as a First Amendment rally. That's not a thing, guys, any more than making America great was a thing. It's amazing how much they whitewash that. But then this guy decides he's going to go back in history just to see if he can catch an inconsistency in GoFundMe's enforcement of this brand new fucking policy. And he did find an example. He found you. And Oh my God, let's get a couple of the elephants in the room right out the gate. Holy shit. First of all, this dude has it in for trans women, because holy fucking shit, he was inventing new ways to misgender people by the end of this article. It was like he had a bingo card, and he's like, let's see, can we do the I don't know what this person is, he, she, he. I mean, honestly, it was left off, and I almost want to give him credit for that, but it's like, motherfucker, how you just I love it how he says, we don't know if this is a man or a woman. Well, there's this interesting thing. It's called pronouns.
And
also, if you use them, you can figure this out.
I'm fairly certain that Skarrlett is a feminine coded name.
I've never met a dude named Skarrlett. So he goes through that. He goes through how I love how, okay, so you are a member of Antifa. Did you know that?
Oh, they have membership now? No way. Oh,
and
cool.
just like every member of Antifa, you have no assets. Therefore, you're wasting taxpayer money on a public defender. Now, this great defender of the Constitution apparently does not think that you are entitled to legal defense, even though that's literally guaranteed by the Constitution.
Yeah.
So this constitutional scholar is great at that. At one point, they did say something about an audio company that you were trying to get a little extra money to fund.
And anything that went over paying the final amount of restitution, anything that went over that would go to, like helping out various friends of mine that, are in various states of need, like needing to have their rent paid and such like that, because I have friends that are disabled and friends that are screwed over from in the past year that have been screwed over by the pandemic. Although this fundraiser precedes the pandemic,
but things happen. Sure. Now, for all of that, and this is what I love, you were called by this individual a dirtbag. You are a dirtbag because of all of this. And I'm just wondering, I'm like, dirtbag, really? I mean, why so angry, dude? What did this person do to you? Where the fuck is this anger coming from?
I mean, to be fair, I kind of identify as the bastard of bastards, given my actual family history, given that both of my parents were adopted, as well as I was taken, adopted, and then given up again. So I'm kind of in a literal sense.
And for anyone who wants to hear more about that, there was a show that we talked about that back in, I'm going to get the year wrong, but I think it was 2016. Eddie here, actually, it was 2017. And you can find that on eddiecabot.blogspot.com. Go to the IMHO 2016 tab. Eddie here, again, obviously the 2017 tab. And that was one of the reasons I want to talk to you, because that was whoa. I mean, that was a story. And I'm adopted myself. I should point that out too. I don't know if I disclosed that in the previous interview, but I'm adopted myself. So your experience with adoption and my experience with adoption are very far apart. Holy fucking.
Oh yeah.
I mean, wow. So, but yeah, so where were we? Oh, dirtbag, yes. Bastard of bastards. Okay. And I mean, and obviously, if you are willing to go up and cold cock somebody and then walk into court and say, yeah, I totally did that. Yeah. Okay. You're not shy about where you wear your pots. But I'm like, really, dirtbag, what did this person do that caused so much anger? You're angry at GoFundMe because of an apparent double standard or whatever. And I mean, let's talk about that. First of all, if GoFundMe wants to have a policy that says they don't want to pay for any bail, restitution, fines, criminal activity whatsoever, and they don't want to fund political oriented stuff, I mean, how do you feel about that as a basic policy?
I am honestly not too sure if I have much of a opinion that I can give on that, other than
okay, you're biased, obviously.
I mean, I'm not exactly sure where my case actually lies in this, because this is all, stuff that's said and done. And it's basically just, hey, if anybody can help me get this stuff taken care of, because yes, I did this. This is why. And
it wasn't this is why I bring up the dirtbag comment, because I'm like, you were not at all deceptive about what you were raising money for. If they had a policy that said they weren't going to support that, you were very clear about what had happened. I mean, he pointed out, literally bragging. And let's also point out the obvious. taking responsibility for it in court. As you said earlier, you weren't wasting anyone's time making excuses. You weren't going to grandstand about left-wing politics or anything like that. You're like, yep, I punched her. I like to get as lenient a sentence as possible.
I pled guilty, and when offered the chance to make a statement during the criminal case, I declined.
Right.
And then during the civil case, that's when I unleashed, because I knew that I was going to win no matter what.
Right.
So,
right. Well, let's acknowledge, first of all, kudos to you for taking responsibility for your actions in the criminal case. But tell me about the civil case. How did you use this platform?
Well, I went in, quite confidently. I actually wore one of my sleeveless dresses where my tattoos were visible. That is, I wore it underneath a leather jacket, which I took off when the time was appropriate to. But I made sure that I was sitting on the side where Draken would have to see, where Lilith Anton Draken Sayer would have to see this tattoo.
I recognize a red star with the best of them, but explain this to me. What am I looking at?
So this is actually a memorial to a dead friend of mine.
Whoa.
Who was a communist, and he had tattoos on the back of his hands. One was an alpha and one was an omega. And so
right, the omega.
La-di-da.
Yep. Okay.
And yeah, so anyway, Lilith Anton Draken Sayer presented the same bill that she had presented at the restitution hearings, and
the
made
same bill
her
that
little
she's already getting paid for, apparently. So
yes,
right,
yes. And then when it came time for me to say my piece, I started out with saying, this has already been taken care of. This was decided in the restitution hearings. This is a waste of everybody's time. This is a spite move. And that it's already been settled, and that, this is, again, it's double dipping. And then I transitioned into my spiel about, I'm not sorry for what I did. I feel no remorse about it. This person is a domestic abuser. I knew this person before I did what I did. There's history and there's further reason to it. And I was able to say that this person was a Nazi, and they had publicly, they're self-proclaimed. There is video footage available on Twitter where she identifies herself and her group of friends as multicultural Nazis.
Multicultural Nazis. So on the one hand, we've got intersectional feminism, and on the other hand, we've got multicultural Nazis. Holy Christ. That doesn't make it better.
Nope. Nope.
I didn't know that was a thing. Multicultural Nazis. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, this wasn't me just going up to some random person. No.
Right.
Like
what's the rule about internet discussions and Nazis? Godwin's law is dead, basically, right?
Oh yeah. Even Godwin himself said, by all means, call these people Nazis, because that's exactly what they are.
That is crazy. Now let's take a step back here and let's look at it. Let's take a more philosophical directions discussion, because violence in politics, and this is not, I'm not suggesting that by punching one Nazi you spurred a revolution. I can look around.
No. I was inspired by the punch that was seen across the world from the J20 event at Trump's inauguration with Richard Spencer.
Okay. And yet, though, here we are all these years later, still enough people to go and literally take the U.S. Capitol, something I wouldn't have thought possible unless the president was willing to sabotage their security forces. We spent $700 billion on defense. You would have thought our Capitol building would have been a little more safe than that. It was taken by Duck Dynasty and some idiot in a Chewbacca bikini. But yeah, but there is a long history in this country and globally speaking, of violence in politics. And I think there's a bigger question here, because there are some people that are out there, no doubt. There are still some, and I feel like there's less than before, saying we got to come together. This isn't the answer. All this division, whatever. That voice is still there. I do believe, and maybe it's my wild-eyed optimism, bless my cotton socks, but I do believe it is diminished a bit. I don't think it's as loud as it has been in the past. I think people are beginning to realize, holy shit, no, there are literal fascists here who want to kill us. And they're fine. This isn't anything new. This has been going on easily since the beginning of the Bush administration. And I could trace it back to to start 1993 when I, at least personally, when I first became aware of Rush Limbaugh, and I saw where this was going. And I heard people talking. This is nothing new, folks. The only thing that's new, the only thing Trump did was take the lid off of it, expose it to the light of day. But I guess, like, I mean, I don't know, is how much, what are your thoughts on political violence and what's going on right now? I mean, I'm guessing you're not all about unity.
No, there can be no unity with fascists. Obviously, you know, I have my position that I've very well made clear just by my actions alone, and you know, the fact that I established a criminal record doing so.
Now, fourth degree assault, is that a felony? That's not a felony.
No, it's a misdemeanor.
Okay.
So I can
But
still vote. Suck on it, Republicans.
But the deep state does know all about you now, right?
Oh yeah. The funny thing too is I had trained to become a peer counselor, but I did not complete the process to become certified and employed as one.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons why was because I didn't want to put my prints on file. And then I went and committed a crime, and now my prints are on file. So yeah.
So the other thing, as we're talking about, and the right wing is famous for these double standards, because like I mentioned earlier, this guy, whatever, I'm not going to give him more press. This guy in law enforcement today or whatever, this brilliant piece of journalism, he talks about these rallies as if they're what the fuck is a First Amendment rally? Like, oh, they're not going to support people traveling to support their First Amendment rights. And it's like, wait, just because you're talking doesn't mean that you're supporting your First Amendment. Like, it's absolutely asinine.
It's just a dog whistle, you know. It's because they can't outright say the stuff that they actually want to say, you know, like
again, that's the scary thing. They kind of do, and there hasn't really been that much of a consequence. I mean, they can whine about cancel culture, but firing an actor here or an actress there has not changed the level of just big. I mean, I can't even, like, there's racism, there's sexism.
Funny, the party of personal responsibility and, you know, due diligence is complaining about consequences. Consequences for misconduct.
Nothing, I think nothing could sum it up more beautifully than Mitch McConnell voting to acquit Trump, and then the very next day giving a speech saying he's totally responsible for everything that happened. Yeah. You motherfucker! If there's anything that says our system is broken, that's it in a nutshell right there. I mean,
It's funny that the dude looks like a turtle and sounds like Foghorn Leghorn, like. At least we have that, along with the fact that he's a terrible fucking person. But at least,
well, I mean, this was.
I say, I'm a big fucking hypocrite.
I don't know how we'll ever. Well, I know how we'll live it down, and that's because people in Kentucky are going to consistently vote against their economic interests because go team go.
Yeah.
In America, sports like politics and politics like sports, and that's really the cause of all of our problems.
Oh yeah, my disdain towards Mitch McConnell is immeasurable.
Right. And yet, let's be fair. I'm guessing you're not pinning all of your hopes that Joe Biden's going to fix all the world's problems.
Oh, no. I am by no means a Biden supporter. I was just a damage control voter.
And this damage control voter thanks you for your vote. Because, yeah, there was some damage control that needed to be done. It was getting a bit out of hand. There was a meme that I've been using a lot lately, and it goes, here's a hearty fuck you to everyone who was saying I was overreacting in November of 2016. And I caught a lot of flack at the time for that. I took a lot of shit from socialists, from anarcho-communists, from Bernie or Busters for basically saying, guys, for fuck's sake, you got to vote Hillary. Like, come on. And I despise Hillary Clinton. Let's be very clear. I'm not a Clinton fan, and I'm not I don't hate. But I could find reasons to hate Biden if I wanted to. I'm not a big Biden fan either when it comes right down to it. Like you say, damage control. You know, like, Jesus, let's try not batshit insane for a start.
Oh yeah.
God. Okay, so the right-wing double standard here, of course, because they want to portray what you did in the worst possible light and portray their own actions as completely patriotic, because there's nothing more patriotic than overthrowing your own government. Well, that is patriotic if you win. It's not patriotic if you lose, however, and they clearly lost because, oh my God, they are a bunch of fucking losers. But they,
and also, I don't know, to me, patriotism does not mean fascism.
It shouldn't. I feel like it shouldn't.
they call themselves patriots, but they act like fascists. So
and the weird thing is they're like, they are fascists, but they're somehow for small government. I really... logic just is not their strong suit, clearly.
Yeah, they'd rather their prisons be private and, you know, like private companies own them rather than the government.
Now that is a great segue. That is a great segue, because I think part of it, if you needed any reason, and I oppose private prisons for a million different reasons, but if you wanted a principled one, if you wanted one that I would think everybody can agree on, conservatives, Republicans, right, left, you shouldn't profit off of crime. I think that's just a general principle. You shouldn't profit off of crime. And for-profit prisons, you say whatever you want about it, they are literally profiting off of crime. They need crime in order to make a profit. And we all know capitalists want growth, which means they need more crime or more severe sentences. But speaking of profiting off of crime, let's just circle back to GoFundMe or to fundraising companies in general, PayPal, etc., who don't want to get involved in politics, so they say, don't want to fund criminal behavior, be that bail, restitution, criminal fines, etc. And okay, on a principled way, that's fair. We were talking before the show a little bit. Do you think you were surprised that you were able to do what you did via GoFundMe?
Yeah. I wasn't able to raise the full amount within the year that it was up or it expired.
That's depressing.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, I'm grateful for the help that I was able to get, and honestly, I feel like if I could have just done it through PayPal, it probably would have been easier, and when they wouldn't have taken a cut out of it,
right?
If it were done accordingly. But you know.
Well, and that's the thing people need to understand when they talk about cancel culture and whatnot. YouTube, Google, Facebook, whatever, and these companies, they're making a profit off of what they do. So it's not even a question of do they support something, but are they willing to profit off of it? I mean, do you think is there any evidence that there's a left-wing bias or a socialist bias or whatever from the GoFundMe people? Or do you think you just fell through the cracks and got lucky? Because this guy found you. He didn't find 10 different examples. He found you.
I don't know. Well, maybe there were some keyword searches that matched up with the description that I had put up for it. Right. Because, you know, I did lay out all the details. I was as transparent forward as I could be.
Right. And I can vouch for that. I mean, I remember the time it's like all laid out. It's like there's no question about what you are supporting and that's why I gave my money.
Mm-hmm. But that's my best guess. That the fundraiser was titled The Price of a Punch. And I feel like maybe I just got lucky, or maybe, I don't know, maybe mine was actually acceptable. I don't really know. Like it wasn't reviewed or anything like that.
It wasn't specifically bail. It's like they mentioned bail. They mentioned like their policy. If you read it, it's very specific, but it doesn't necessarily describe what you were doing. Although letter of the law, spirit of the law, whatever. I mean,
yeah. Did it say anything about restitution?
It did not use that word. It did not use that word.
There we have it.
That's the thing. And I'm like, and this was something that Tara and I touched on last week. I'm not opposed to companies just deciding to take a side, to basically say, no, we're not going to support hate. We're not going to support violence. We're not going to support fascism. We're not going to support Nazism. You know what? It's not about, we're just going to support free speech absent any context. And I don't know that GoFundMe has done that. I don't want to put them on, everyone don't boycott GoFundMe or whatever. Like, I don't know what happened here exactly. But like, I think companies need to just, if Facebook or Google or whatever, or YouTube is going to decide they're going to censor fucking everybody, basically, like nobody can say anything remotely controversial anymore because everyone's too offended. Well, take a side. Take aside and decide, you know what, we're going to have actual human beings with actual biases that we're going to be very clear about, review these things. Because fuck you, that's why you've gone too far. I mean, that's how I would.
I mean, isn't that what conservatives want? Is private companies to be able to do whatever the fuck they want?
They love the free market until it went against them.
Yeah.
And to anyone who's under any illusions about Facebook having a bias and all of that, in the last 70 days roughly, I came off of a 30-day Facebook ban. I had access to my account for 1 hour before I was serving another 30-day Facebook ban. So no, fuck you. They are not going after only conservatives. Not possible.
Oh yeah, I've been treading lightly.
I am now.
Yeah.
You pull up my page of offenses and it's like it opens and then the bar on the side starts getting smaller. Like, oh shit, I better be more careful here. I'm gonna lose this page entirely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? What is the lesson of this? Punch Nazis, don't punch Nazis. Where are we gonna leave on this one? Punch Nazis if you have the money. What's the lesson of this? What's the takeaway?
Pride come before the fall.
Okay, fair enough. But you know what? I'm not ready to give up pride anytime soon. To you?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I am very much a proud, non-binary, queer as hell, debonair, pseudo cosmopolitan.
That is a lot of syllables. That sounds good though. I dig it. So we're gonna close out. There was actually there's a bit of a musical number which we used to do a lot on Rainbow, and I feel like we should probably close out with some music. And there's a song that you've got that I think sums up this whole bit pretty nicely.
Yeah, so because this track starts out with a cover of I believe Bass Nectar song, it's Where's Your Head At, Lads?
Okay.
That way it's recognized that it starts out as a cover, but then it becomes its own thing, and it's like, hey. And I am dubbing it as being under my current project that I'm trying to get off the ground once COVID is over, called Wicked Gaze.
All right, well, we're going to close out with Where's Your Head At, Lads by Wicked Gaze. Skarrlett, it's been great having you on. Hope to hear from you again soon.
Oh yeah, it's always a pleasure.
You in the face. I'm like a fucking nose. I went and read about it. Everybody knows. You got a fucking bitch. And I confess to run. I'm proud of what I did. You still be nuts again.
I'm not sorry. Someone did. It was worse than eating my shit.
And now you're gonna sue me for every time you can. But even if you win, I'll do it all again.
I'm not sorry. Someone did. It was worth it. Eat my shit. You know who you are. Fuck you!
That was Where's Your Head At, Lads by Wicked Gaze. I want to thank Skarrlett again for coming on the program. I want to invite anybody who wants to further discuss the topic of violence in politics, because I think it's very easy to listen to one side of the story and come down with a pretty pat opinion about it, but I think it's a much more complex issue. So if anybody's interested in discussing that or has any other ideas for future shows, guests, or topics, please feel free to contact me on Facebook at Eddie Cabot. You can email me niceguy9418@usa.com. I really like to hear from everybody. I'm glad to be back. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening and keep it tuned to Rainbow Radio.